This is my second go at an unscripted video this month. This one I'm going to be talking about my top 100 favorite songs of last year. Yeah, I listened to over 50 new albums last year, and of course songs from other sources, and I have whittled all of it down into my top 100 favorites of that year. No limits on repeat artists, by the way. It's a pure top 100. Although every year I do end up making a top 125 playlist just because there's so many things I want to include, and while this video will still be only me talking about the top 100, I will quickly rattle off those bottom 25 as a sort of honorable mentions. They are Super Bloom by Dayglow, I Get Carried Away by Imagine Dragons, Black Eyed Susan Climb by Magdalena Bay, Snipe Hunter by Tyler Childers, Battles by Toa Tay, Besties by Black Country New Road, Drum Show by 21 Pilots, Long Island City Here I Come by Geese, Second Best by The Last Dinner Party, Hunting Soul by Toshiro, Human Happens by Magdalena Bay, Television Love by Of Monsters and Men, Willoughby's Interlude by Ethel Cain, Pretend You're God by Miley Cyrus, Arms by Blonde Shell, Happy Birthday by Black Country New Road, Past Present Future by Brandon Roberts, Onita by Tyler Childers, On the Way by Ina the End, The Third Sanctuary by Toby Fox, Is There Anybody Out There by Lord Huron, Lonely Cosmos by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Johnny by Eric Church, Day One by Bon Iver, Dijon and Flock of Dimes, and Ashes to Ashes by Magdalena Bay, their David Bowie cover. Some of these songs I may go on really long tangents about, some of them I may only give a sentence or two towards, but yeah, that's how it's gonna work. At number 100 we have Rooter Buster by Toby Fox. Yeah, there are gonna be a few Deltarune songs on this list, because every time Toby makes something, those soundtracks are always some of my favorite music of the year. Yeah, this is an evolution of the song Rude Buster from Chapter 1 soundtrack, and it is such an excellent amplification of it. The pianos add so much, it's generally just way flashier and has a better swing to it. It's just a really cool, I guess, remix of sorts. At number 99, we have So Long by the Lumineers. For a band that's known primarily for more low-key folk stuff, they're always really good whenever they decide to go more grandiose and rock-oriented, like this song, the closer from their last album. Yeah, it's just really good at creating a sense of build and catharsis for the end of the album, and it's got a really catchy melody, great vocals. It's just one of their best closers easily. At number 98, we have Bow and Arrow by Kenshi Yonezu. This was the OP from my favorite anime of last year, Medalist, and it's just such a chaotically beautiful piece of electropop. Kenshi's vocals are super dynamic and emotive. The synths are just flurrying at such a rapid pace with so many interesting textures and melodies. And it really does have a gripping sense of emotional engagement that makes for a perfect opening to this series. At number 97, we have Getting Killed by Geese. The song, not the sensation. Yeah, I wasn't as in love with this album as everyone else seemed to be last year, but its title track is pretty fantastic. It's an interesting contrast because the first half of it kind of feels like a typical rollicking piece of dad rock with some fun crowd vocals and just a really nice swing to it, and then the second half kind of cools down into something that's honestly more reminiscent of the In Rainbows era of Radiohead. It's just such a fun mash of things, and the guy's vocals are really cool too. I don't actually know his name, sorry. At number 96, we have What Was That by Lorde. Yet this song kind of is just a direct replication of the sound she was doing on Melodrama 8 years ago, but it's a really good replication. Like, yeah, this song is absolutely nothing new for her, but she is still really good at this kind of, like, flashy, emotional, slightly edgy kind of pop music. It's got a really good build to it, some interesting synths, excellent vocals as always. It's a good song. At number 95, we have Who Laughs Last by Lord Huron and Kristen Stewart. Yeah, the majority of this song is spoken word narration from Kristen Stewart over top of this very slow, plodding rock instrumentation that's really engaging and atmospheric. This instrumental kind of feels like a throwback to the simultaneously gritty yet spacey instrumentation of their 2018 album Vide Noir. And yeah, the storytelling from Kristen Stewart is really interesting and engaging, and when the choruses actually explode with the Lord Huron guy actually singing, they're really effective, cathartic, badass moments. It's a really cool song overall. At number 94, we have Rifle by The Last Dinner Party. I'm gonna be honest, the main reason the song is here is just for the guitar riff in the chorus. The whole song is good overall, but that riff is just so memorable and crunchy and badass. It kind of reminds me of Muse, honestly. Good song, amazing riff, moving on. At number 93, we have You Can Have It All by Florence and the Machine. Yeah, this one isn't really anything new for Florence. She's done this sort of dramatic build before, but it's still so well done. I like it whenever she goes a bit more rock-oriented, which this definitely is. Her vocals are as amazing as always. I mean, there's not much to say about it. Again, it's not a very unique song, but it does what it does so well. At number 92, we have Ectasis by Deftones. Yeah, a lot of these lower ones I don't have a whole lot to say about, honestly, this being one of them. Yeah, like most other songs on this album, it's just a really fun, beautifully mixed, cool piece of rock music. I'd say the highlight here is the vocals. They're just like dripping. I don't know how to describe it more than that. They're dripping with something. It's just, the vocals sound really cool mixing wise, and just the way they're performed is just so distinct and interesting. At number 91, we have Violence by Beach Bunny. Yeah, the instrumental on this one is really good, but the main thing that's made me love it is the lyrics, which became my personal anthem for how terrible 2025 was. Hard to be human, your home is a landfill, you fight over paper, pay taxes to kill. Has commentary on political violence, of course with the song title, commentary about how billionaires are terrible. It's just very, very easy to resonate with in the current age, and it is just a really charming rock song as well. At number 90, we have Sexual Safari by Ivia. And this is a hard song to describe. This whole album is one of the weirdest and most interesting I've ever heard. Operaville, the album from which this originates, was like literally part science experiment. This guy just brought together so many disparate sounds that you don't traditionally use in music and made an album out of them. And this song here, it's like very disjointed, but that's kind of the charm. And when it hits its moments of grandeur, they're really, really gripping, and the whole soundscape has just so many unique, weird sounds you would not expect to hear. And it helps that the guy is a really great vocalist as well. I think the highlight for me, though, is the distorted drums that are all throughout. They're just so mind-bending and bizarre and very interesting. At number 89, we have Easy Lover by Miley Cyrus. Yeah, this album's gonna be on here a lot too. I'd never listened to a Miley Cyrus album before this, but it ended up being one of my favorites of the year. The thing which makes this song is just its incredible groove. The bass line and the way the keys and the drums complement it is just so badass and infectious. And of course, Miley's vocals are very engaging over top of it as well. It's a very short, sweet, very cool song. At number 88, we have WDID by Sylvan Esso. This was not the band I was expecting to make an angry social commentary song, but I am so glad that they did. Their normal style of electropop is usually very it is kind of experimental, but usually very ethereal and plucky and kind of pretty. But this song is easily the most aggressive and distorted thing they've ever made. Between the heavy distortion on the vocals and just the nature of the beat, it's honestly kind of Gorillaz-esque. I've never heard this band's vocalist do shouted vocals before, but she does it so well, and the song builds all throughout in such a fun, unhinged sort of way. I'm really curious to see. It's just such an interesting new sonic pathway for them that I really hope to see them explore further. And the lyrics are super interesting too. It's kind of a commentary on kind of doom scrolling, how you'll go from seeing something chill like gardening to a genocide. That's literally a lyric of this thing. It's like, war, it's genocide, it's a Burger King crown. Just the contrast of horrors and mundanities that we see every day on social media. It's a really interesting commentary on that. At number 87, we have Truth by Mumford & Sons. Yeah, this is probably the closest this generally folk band has ever come to making a country song, and it goes over incredibly well. It's got a really infectious bass line that's kind of the whole reason the song works. Vocals are very fun, it builds to a really good climax. It's just got such a fun sense of swagger to it that is unlike anything in their older catalog. And yeah, I really kind of emphasize just how good the groove of this song is, how great the melody of the bass line is. It's so fun. At number 86, we have Cut Hands by Deftones. Yeah, this one works for most of the same reasons as the one I already listed down below. But I think what really stands out to me here is the vocal melodies specifically. I'm always obsessed with vocal melodies that are really dark and ominous and atmospheric, but still so catchy. And the "Eyelids Getting Heavy" is a perfect example of that. It's such a fun melody. But yeah, it's got the same sense of grit as the last song, same amazing atmospheric production. Really cool song. At number 85, we have Stuntman by Worthy Kids. This is one of the shorter songs on this list, but it is just such a fun, visceral rock song. It's rare to have a song where all the vocals are screamed that actually works for me, but it really works in this instance because the guitars matching them are just so thrashy and fun and energetic and visceral. It's just like a 2-minute non-stop shot of chaotic energy to the veins, and it is so fun and cathartic. At number 84, we have Damascus by Gorillaz, Omar Souleyman, and Yasin Bey. Probably not pronouncing those correctly, but whatever. Yeah, Gorillaz have a new album coming out in a few days, and most of its singles are here, at least the ones that came out in 2025. Yeah, this is such a fun blend of stuff for Gorillaz, because you've got the return of Omar Souleyman from Plastic Beach, as well as a beat overall that just kind of feels Plastic Beach-esque, alongside I believe Syrian rapper Yasin Bey, as well as this instrument that I don't know what it is, but it's a clearly Middle Eastern instrument, and just bringing these two sides together, it's such a fun, really interesting blend. I feel like I'm not describing this song well, but it is easily one of the best Gorillaz songs that doesn't actually feature 2D on it. You don't always need 2D to have an amazing Gorillaz song. This is an absolute bop. I cannot wait for the mountain. At number 83, we have Never Ending Night by Toby Fox, the actual shortest song on this list. Yeah, if this song were longer and had like more changes across that longer runtime, it would probably be top 25 because the minute and a half that we have here is just so inspiringly beautiful. It's just so ethereal and emotional, and like it has a sense of hope to it while also having a sense of darkness to it. It's just so gorgeous. The only reason it's this low is because of how short it is. I desperately wish it were longer, but what's here is so beautiful. At number 82, we have Doves by Model Actress. Pretty much all the songs on this album, with this song being no exception, are very like violent and aggressive and like sharp in their instrumentation. And the way this song does that is great. It's one of the best on the album, but it stands out because it, like, I guess the choruses, you could say, suddenly, like, strip everything back and are, like, really tender and quiet for these brief moments, and it's really striking every time it happens. So yeah, excellent, fun, edgy banger with occasional moments of tenderness that really stand out. At number 81, we have Lockdown by Miley Cyrus and David Byrne. This was a bonus track from their latest album, and I honestly really wish they included it, because this 13-minute masterpiece would have made for an amazing closer. I mean, it being 13 minutes long, I guess I can understand why it wasn't on such a mainstream release, but it is still such a cool song. There are really only vocals at the opening 2 and final 2 minutes, and everything in between is just this really psychedelic, atmospheric, constantly evolving flurry of instrumentation that is just so deeply immersive. And the vocal parts at the beginning and end are still super catchy and fun. Yeah, just those two halves together as like a 4-minute song would have been really good too, but having that like full 8 minutes in between of just so much weird experimentation was really, really cool. Easily one of the best songs from this album, although there are still quite a few left to go on the list. At number 80, we have Tally by 21 Pilots. Yeah, this is also an album that's gonna have a lot of songs on the list, so be ready for that. If I had to say what makes this one stand out from the rest of the album, though, it's probably the most relentless song on the album. It just, like, does not stop, and Tyler's vocal high at the very end is so cool. Yeah, just a really fun, aggressive piece of alternative pop rock that makes for a perfect penultimate moment on this album. Really good. At number 79, we have Carnage by The Antlers. The first half of the song is like a really atmospheric, downtrodden slow build, but what really makes it stand out is when the guitars finally kick in, and it's just this empty and hollow and like distressing and massive. It's just so interesting. It's as if the guitar is opening a gaping void or something. It's just so atmospherically compelling. And most of the rest of the song just is that guitar tone reverberating over some like light percussion and light synths, but I just can't get over how atmospherically striking that guitar tone is. It is so cool. At number 78, we have Open Wide by Inhaler. Yeah, this band's refusal to evolve kind of frustrates me, and this is probably their weakest album so far, but this here, the title track, did have a little more something going on to it. It still wasn't anything new for the band, but it just felt so much more soulful and complete than anything else on the album. It's pretty standard as far as alternative pop rock goes, but there's just something so, I guess, inspiring about it. Like, it really hooks your heart. Just a very, very comforting song. At number 77, we have Reborn by Miley Cyrus. This was the penultimate song from the album, and it's a really cool sort of climax for the album to hit. The first half is built over this really interesting, warbly synth beat that hits some really fun highs, And I don't like the climax quite as much as the first half, honestly, but it's still a very fun, grandiose, cathartic moment. Yeah, just another one of the very cool songs from this album that I'm going to be talking about a lot in this video. At number 76, we have Everybody Scream by Florence and the Machine. Honestly, this song has shrunk on me to some degree since it came out as a single, because when I first heard it, I cried because of how amazing it was, and nowadays I don't love it quite as much, but it is still a very cool song. It's an excellent opener. I love the dissonant backing vocals of people like actually screaming, and it has such an incredible amount of swagger. People often say there are two types of Florence songs, like the really deeply intimate emotional ones and the ones where she feels like a god, and yeah, this is one of those god Florence and the Machine songs. She sounds so powerful here. But yeah, very cool song, but there were better songs on this album, which we will get to later. At number 75, we have Shortcut by Street Sex. This is the only song I've ever heard from these guys. It was recommended to me under the pretense that the vocalist kinda sounds like Matt Bellamy from Muse, my favorite band. And yeah, he really does. The whole song is kind of him going back and forth between sounding like Matt Bellamy from Muse and Gerard Way from My Chemical Romance. It's a very, very good vocal performance. And the instrumental, too, is this really sort of aggressive, flashy electropop sort of thing. It's like pop music, but angrier. It's really, really fun and atmospheric. Yeah, I love songs that can be kind of sinister and aggressive, but still super fun and catchy. It's a very fun song. At number 74, we have Tell Me I Should Stay by Franz Ferdinand. And this is just a really cool, fun, grandiose piece of rock music. I love, like, the slow, orchestral, piano-based opening, and slowly builds into the verses. And then the chorus is hit with, like, such a cathartic release while still being, like, super fun and catchy. It's just a really good song. And yeah, the guitars in, like, the post-chorus, like, the part of the chorus where the vocals end and the guitars really kick in, those guitars are so catchy and memorable and easy to latch onto. It's a really fun moment. I feel like I'm repeating the words fun and great a lot in this video. I guess just the consequences of unscripted. A lot of these songs are good for similar reasons, okay? But yes, very fun, flashy rock song. Again, I've seen saying flashy a lot as well. At number 3, we have Your Idol by the Saja Boys. It's interesting because my least favorite song from this movie was the other Saja Boys song, Soda Pop, because it kind of, I mean, I still thought it was okay, but it kind of fits into the things I historically haven't liked about K-pop in the past. Specifically, male K-pop, I feel like a lot of the time has vocalists that are trying so hard to sound sexy, like trying to appeal to a very specific demographic, and I just find it off-putting. It's just so pandering and manipulative, I guess, and it always throws me off. The vocals on this song are doing the same thing, but why it works is because this is a villain song. This is the song where these guys are being openly evil, so them sounding so manipulative and seductive just makes the purpose of the song work better. It takes what I dislike about male K-pop and makes it one of its best attributes. It makes it a better villain song. The vocal melodies are super memorable, the grandeur of it is so good, the backing vocals are so dramatic and gonna have a great evil vibe to them. Yeah, this is one of the best villain songs in ages, and it's just a really fun song on its own. At number 2, we have As Alive As You Need Me To Be by Nine Inch Nails. Yeah, this is just a very cool, hard-hitting piece of electronic music. Yeah, I don't know why this won the Grammy for Best Rock Song. There are, like, no guitars here. It's just, like, really heavy electronics, and it's a Grammy-worthy song, but rock music? This isn't really rock music. Yeah, all that aside, it's a really gritty and satisfying piece of electronic music with some really good vocals, too. At number 71, we have Onanist by Ethel Cain. This is a song that sort of exists in 3 acts, and it's really, really interesting. I'm not a big fan of the third part because it's kind of just a slow cool down with some whispered vocals, and it's fine, but the first 2 parts are so immersive. The first part are these, like, pianos so distorted that they feel genuinely haunted. Like you're listening to a piano recording off like a really old gramophone that is also deeply, deeply cursed. It's just so atmospherically interesting. And those pianos slowly build and the vocals come in, and then it just hits you with this harsh wave of distortion. I'm not entirely sure if it's guitars or synths or whatever, but this distortion is just so aggressive and violent and oppressive, and it makes for a really cathartic build. Again, the cooldown after that harsh distortion isn't as interesting, but it's still a really interesting song overall. So fascinatingly dark. At number 70, we have Dirty Hot Trill by Tyler Childers. You know how sometimes people use the word nasty as like a positive way of describing a song's particular kind of badassery? Yeah, this is the nastiest country song I've ever heard. It's got an amazing swing to it, such a catchy melody, really fun backing vocals, some really interesting uses of guitar in some very plucky ways. Yeah, this is just an awesome, unique, forward-thinking country song. It's so cool. At number 69, we have Raw Fear by 21 Pilots. I've been saying it a lot in this video, but a lot of these songs just have really good grooves. Yeah, this is just a really easy song to swing along to and have fun with, but it also has a really, really potent emotional core that becomes much more prominent in its bridge. The emotions that brought on by that bridge do recontextualize the final chorus into something that feels way more amplified. Yeah, just a really fun, really emotionally gratifying track. At number 68, we have Angus Day by The Last Dinner Party. Probably not pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, this was the opener to their album last year, and it is its best song. I'm always a sucker for openers that are like so grand and climactic that they could almost be the opener. And yeah, this thing just has such an excellent build to it. The flurry of vocal layering by the end almost reminds me of Florence and the Machine. These guys at their best often do remind me of Florence and the Machine, and this song is no different. But yeah, just easily one of the best album openers of the year. It's so just grand and interesting. At number 67, we have Moment 4 by Sam LRC and Borozu Bear. This song is less of a song and more a gaping nightmare simulator. Yeah, there's not much here that you can latch onto in terms of melody. It's just this 7 minutes of all these like distorted, dark, interesting sounds building and falling away and clashing and just building an incredible sense of dread. Again, this is 7 minutes of what I describe as a gaping nightmare, but it's aesthetically interesting in a way that still makes it very appealing to listen to, at least for someone like me. This is... a lot of you would probably hate this, but yeah, I think it's cool. I love this kind of dark art. At number 66, we have From Now On by Toby Fox. This song does carry the appropriate dramatic weight that comes with Chapter 4, but it's also just so lush and bouncy and fun. The way the keys on this song are used is especially fascinating. They're just so hypnotic, I guess, and you don't really expect the kind of thing on what is a battle theme. Yeah, this is another case where if this was longer and had more change-ups, it'd be way higher, but as it is still such a cool, fascinating battle theme. At number 65, we have The Ghost Intervention by Imagine Dragons. This was a demo that they made all the way back in 2015, but didn't actually release until 2025, so it counts for the list. And yeah, this is probably the least mainstream-friendly song Imagine Dragons have ever released. Its demo-ish quality actually works in its favor because completing the production of it, making it sound cleaner, would take away from the fascinating, really fun sense of grit it has. The chorus is especially hit with such violence. You have these blasting, almost dubstep-y synths, but not quite dubstep, and then these discordant guitars come in, and Dan Reynolds is just shouting his head off. It is so much chaotic, aggressive fun. If you're an Imagine Dragons hater, which I know many of you are, do give this one a listen, because even if you don't like it, it will at least surprise you. It's unlike anything else they've ever done. At number 64, we have Hooked by Franz Ferdinand. The thing which really makes this song are its incredibly badass synths. They're just so crunchy and catchy and almost sexy, I guess? I don't know. But yeah, the way this song builds and grooves is just so much fun, and the climax especially as the synths are intensifying and the vocals are intensifying, it's just so cool. Sometimes the synths almost have a video gamey quality to them as well, so it's a really cool song. At number 63, we have There's a Rhythm by Bon Iver. I remember writing in my review of this album that this really just feels like a song that was made with love. It's the penultimate song on the album, and it's just so tender and emotional and beautiful and soulful, and yeah, you kind of get the picture. It's just really, really emotionally gratifying and tender. The keys are so warm, Justin's vocals are so warm. It's just such a cozy, emotional song. At number 62, we have Fuck Me Eyes by Ethel Cain, a much more emotional and beautiful song than you'd expect given the title. It's kind of like a grandiose synth-pop slow jam with excellent vocals, a really interesting character portrait at the center, and just such a gratifying build to it that gets really, really emotional by the end. At number 61, we have Eating Big Time by Tyler Childers. This is one of the angriest country songs I've ever heard, and it's pretty great for that. The vocals and instrumentation both feel so raw and aggressive. There's a lot of interesting social commentary on it, but the highlight for me is the bridge where we get those absolutely blaring organ melodies. It's just so in your face and dramatic and aggressive. It's just so... It's so not what you expect to hear in a country song, something this distorted. Yeah, I really can't get over how cool those organs are. You just gotta hear it for yourself. At number 60, we have Artificial Infinity by M83. Yeah, a lot of the songs on this album kind of sounded the same and didn't really stand out to me, but this one has a much more beautiful climax than anything else on the album. The climax here is such a flurry of beautiful things. You got saxophones, you got other strings, you got guitars, you got drums, you got light vocals. It's just such a wondrous, adventurous experience. At number 59, we have Tall Tales by Mark Pritchard and Tom York. Another song that I'd kind of describe as a gaping nightmare, but not the same way as the last one. That Moment 4 track is a gaping nightmare where, like, you're being dragged down into hell kicking and screaming, whereas this song is like just an overwhelming sense of unease, like walking through a dark forest and you're seeing and hearing things but nothing's actually attacking you, but you always feel like they could. Yeah, the actual soundscape of the song is more melodic than the other one. They're like very distinct synth melodies, but they're so slow and droning and ominous, and there are lots of really interesting text-to-speech vocals as well. Overall, it just creates this deeply unnerving, dizzying soundscape that you really want to escape from, but also just love floating around in. Again, I really love songs that can build a sense of dread while still being aesthetically interesting, and that's exactly what this is. At number 58, we have If Only I Could Wait by Bon Iver and Danielle Haim. I've realized that Sable Fable is an album that's greater than the sum of its parts because this was my second favorite album of the year, and yet my favorite song from it is only ranking here in the 50s. But yeah, it really is a beautiful song that even before the vocals kick in, the instrumental just grips your heart immediately in the way it's kind of like, I don't know, it immediately feels like it's holding back, but not in like a frustrating way, just like you're just waiting to see how it builds, and it's really, really good. Excellent vocal chemistry between these two as well. It's the perfect example of what makes this album so beautiful. There's like so many interesting layers, but they're always really tender and beautifully produced. It's just such a lovely song. At number 57, we have My World by Conan Gray. And this song's got a great drive to it, some amazing vocal highs in the choruses, a really sardonic, edgy bridge that works really, really well. Yeah, it's just a really beautiful, really fun track. There's not much more to say about it beyond that. At number 56, we have Man of the Year by Lorde. The first 2 minutes are just like a slow guitar ballad with some interesting lyrics, but then the climax just absolutely explodes. It's just this flurry of harsh, distorted synth patterns that are just clashing around the soundscape, and it's so cool and so unexpected from a mainstream pop artist. Yeah, it really is those chaotic synths that make it. It's just such a cool soundscape. Her vocals are great as well, obviously. At number 55, we have The Happy Dictator by Gorillaz and Sparks. Yeah, this was such an immediately exciting lead single for the new album. It's got a classic synthy Gorillaz beat, but there's a sense of wondrous grandeur here that you don't always hear from them. Super catchy, very lyrically interesting. The bridge from Sparks is so cool. Yeah, it was just so good at immediately hooking me on what the mountain is going to be, and I cannot wait for the album, like I've said. Its best individual element is those moments where it takes those choir vocals and chops them up as it goes into the next verse. It's really fun. At number 54, we have Gradient Grass Remix by C418. I don't know why it's called Remix. I don't think there's any other song called Gradient Grass, but this is a really cool song. Yeah, it's kind of just classic C418 electronic music, not like his Minecraft stuff if that's all you know from him. But, I mean, it has those ethereal, atmospheric elements, but it builds to some really fun, flashy, heavy synth beats that are so cool. It's a very glitchy song a lot of the time, and I mean that as a compliment. It's really, really dynamic. At number 63, we have Don't Get High Hopes by Ivia. Another song from that Science Experiment album, and this one is even cooler. It has so many changes across its 6.5 minute runtime, the first part's a bit more standard. I mean, standard as far as this album goes. It's got a really interesting synth beat, some nice guitars, and I am fascinated by how he made the pink trombone go yeah, 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 and make it sound so good. I mean, if you know what the pink trombone is, actually using it in a song in a way that's cohesive is so impressive. The real highlight of the song is, I guess, the bridge that's played on a Tesla coil. It's just so... I mean, if you know anything about what a Tesla coil sounds like, it's just so aggressive and intense and grandiose, but so cool. A very unique kind of synth texture you can't get anywhere but a Tesla coil. It's such a cool inclusion. At number 62, we have CXZ by Deftones. Again, good for all the same reasons as the last one, but why this one is the best from the album is just how unrelentingly visceral it is. I mean, the whole album is pretty visceral. It is Deftones, but this song in particular just does not let up. The shouted vocals are just so fun. Yeah, not much more to say than that. I just love how intense this is. At number 51, we have Dream Team by Of Monsters and Men. A lot of the songs on this album didn't really hook me because of the somewhat muddy production, but I think something about the homogeny of the production actually kind of works in this song's favor. It makes it feel way softer, more warm. But yeah, I really love the I Don't Want to Cry My Eyes Out hook, and the synths that immediately follow it are so almost cute, but like emotional at the same time. It's a really, really beautiful synth melody. And it also builds to a surprisingly grand and cathartic release in the climax, despite how quaint most of the rest of the song feels. Yeah, some of their best songs in a while. It's so pretty. At number 50, we have Down Under by Tyler Childers, the best song from this album of his. Its lyrical content, entirely about Australia, is really funny. It's got such a lush soundscape, way more beautiful and layered than you typically expect from a country song. And I'm surprised by how it's never annoying despite how repetitive it is. Like, over half the song is just him repeating the chorus, but it works so well. It's just such a fun chorus. Yeah, it's a really fun, driven song, but it is also surprisingly beautiful. Alright, day 2 filming, here we go. At number 49, we have Parachute by Hayley Williams. This album was a little all over the place, but this was an incredible closer. It's got such a sweeping sense of emotionality to it. I love how the bridge gets way heavier for a second. And the choruses here are just so like beautiful and soulful and fun at the same time. It's just a really complete epic package. At number 48, we have Threatener by Shadow Academy. Another song that gets delightfully heavy in its bridge, even more so than the last one. It gets like really thick and like ominous, I guess. But most of the rest of the song is kind of a synth-driven, almost dance thing. See, it's a really cool contrast where you have this like fun, synthy jam that just suddenly gets so heavy in the bridge, and it all works together incredibly well. Also, Dan Avidan's just a really fun vocalist. At number 47, we have Something in the Air by The Antlers. Most of this song is just slowly plodding acoustic guitars and vocals, all done in a very atmospheric way. But then near the end of the song, this just intense wave of distortion hits, and then as it like continues on for a second, this distortion then shifts into kind of like a waltz rhythm, and it's just this beautiful, harsh noise. It's so aesthetically gratifying, it adds beautifully to the atmosphere, and like, it clashes, but it doesn't clash with the rest of the song. It's just a really interesting, surprising direction for it to go. I love the distorted waltz part a lot. At number 46, we have Something Beautiful by Miley Cyrus. The verses start out as slow jams on this one, and it's very like atmospheric and well produced. But then the choruses hit with these guitars that are so like jarringly heavy and blisteringly scuzzy that you'd swear you were listening to King Gizzard or something, like their early stuff. Yeah, Miley can really pull off rock and roll quite well from what I've heard on this album. Yeah, not much more to say than that. It's just a really beautifully done combo of like slow R&B and genuinely heavy rock music. It's so cool. At number 45, we have Caramel by Conan Gray. This is also one of his most rock-oriented songs ever, and it goes over incredibly well. His vocals during the bridge here are just so emotional and like messy, but in such a compelling way. Yeah, good rhythm, great vocals, great guitar work. It's just a really fun piece of pop rock. Very emotional too, like I said. At number 44, we have Saikai by Vondi. This was the OP for that horror anime from last year called The Summer Hikaru Died, and it fits the show perfectly. The verses here are this very interesting blend of like these somewhat shouted vocals and these like creeping synths that like definitely feel like they're made for a horror anime. But then that part of the song naturally builds into the choruses, which are much more traditionally like inspirational rock, the kind of you expect from anime intros. Yeah, this song blends unique spooky atmosphere and more like traditional passionate emotions in such a clever way. At number 43, we have The Contract by 21 Pilots. I was a little mixed on this when it first came out as Breach's lead single, but it has grown on me so much. The main sticking point that I didn't like was its use of autotune, but now that's one of its coolest aspects. It genuinely adds to the edge of the song so much. This one's also very Linkin Park-esque as far as 21 Pilots go, and while some people took issue with that, I just thought it was cool. Yeah, it's another one of the album's most sheerly energetic, unrelenting moments. It's just so fast-paced, intense, and gratifying, and dynamic. I love the synth work here, too. They're just flying all over the soundscape. It sounds amazing. But yeah, another great song from Breach. It will not be the last one on this list. At number 42, we have Paint Me a Picture by Magdalena Bay. Incredibly smooth production and very charming vocals, as always, from Magdalena Bay. This has one of their best grooves ever. Like, it's very low-key, but in a way that still manages to grip you all the way through. The drum rhythms are so crisp, the chorus is so catchy and quirky and on a cringe way. And I love how near the end they introduce these pianos that kind of start to become chaotic and like they aren't like aligning with the beat, but that's the point. It just kind of devolves at the end, but in a very, very cool way. At number 41, we have The Manifesto by Gorillaz, Trueno, and Proof. This is the second longest song they've ever made. It has like a sort of 3-act structure, and it goes over spectacularly. The middle part is a more traditional Gorillaz rap feature with this really deep-voiced American guy and these really big horns and big synth beats underscoring it. But what fascinates me most is the first part of the song, because the instrumentation here is very clearly inspired by like Indian music or perhaps Chinese. I'm not as well versed, but it's one of those two things. So it's that kind of instrumentation, but led by a Spanish rapper, and it works together shockingly well. It's these kinds of unique blends that you can really only get from Gorillaz. And then the Spanish rapper comes back again to the third part of the song to bring everything together, and there are like bits and pieces from 2D in there as well, and again the horns are just so fantastic all throughout. But the first bit really is the highlight. It's got such a catchy melody. Even 9 albums in, Gorillaz keep on impressing me. At number 40, we have Kraken by Florence and the Machine. This is one of her most grand, mythic songs to date. I mean, it's probably metaphorical to some degree, but the lyrics are literally talking about her being a kraken, being a squid thing, destroying boats and whatnot, dragging men down to sea. It's so fun. The verses show a lot of restraint and are really good at like hooking you in, but then the choruses just explode with grandeur, and it's what I love to hear from Florence and the Machine. Her singing quieter melodies over her really grand, heavily layered background vocals is just so well made. At number 39, we have Heart to Heart by Ivia. Another one of the songs from that Science Experiment album, but I think the reason this is my favorite song from it is because it's honestly the most accessible song from the album. Still has plenty of the same weirdness, but like the structure of it is a bit more traditional, and it almost has a kind of an 80s flair to it, but there's still so many bizarre sounds and interesting mixing choices that it's truly unlike anything else I've ever heard. Yeah, great chorus. This guy really is an amazing vocalist, and this is probably his best display on the album, and it's just got such a fun sway to it, and the choruses really explode with grandeur, and I love to hear it. At number 38, we have Hello by Furui Riho. Probably how you say that. Yeah, this was my favorite anime OP of the year. It's from City the Animation, which was one of my favorite anime of the year. One thing that impresses me about this song is how it manages to make synthetic horns sound good. I tend to be really picky when it comes to how brass instruments are mixed in songs. Like, AJR, for example, I think is kind of bad at making horns sound really fake or just not using real horns to begin with. But the trumpets that exist all throughout this song are kind of AJR-esque in their mixing, but I actually think it works incredibly well. It makes the song feel lighter than if they sounded more real. Yeah, this is just a really joyful, exuberant piece of pop music, and it works perfectly for the show from which it originates. I love her voice, I love how the pre-choruses get kind of emotionally tender for a second, and the choruses are just such a burst of joy and fun. And then the climax with extra vocal layers on well is so spectacularly cathartic. I adore this song. At number 37, we have David by Lorde. This is a very well done, tender ballad to close out the album, but what really makes it is like the very end where her voice starts distorting, and then as she hits her vocal emotional high, the distortion gets just so aggressive that it like kind of hurts to listen to, but that's why it's cool. Yeah, just a very, very emotional track where the simple instrumentation really, really backs it up well. At number 36, we have Blight by The Antlers. I don't know if I have much to say about this one. It's just really, really pretty. I guess I really like the rolling drum beat that it introduces after a while, and the pianos complement it really well, and his like content yet grieved vocals fit it perfectly as well. Just so pretty and spectacularly atmospheric. At number 35, we have Brasso by Brandon Roberts, the surprise EDM rager from the Star Wars show. It's technically a remix of a song that was already in the first season called Niamos, had a few different versions there, but this is by far its best iteration. The orchestral build-up at the beginning is a really nice touch, and when it hits, it's like borderline noise music, but like still very much EDM in a very danceable way. Like, it really does sound like a club song, but it also underscores the tragedy of the scene which it's from so incredibly well. Yeah, that's just another one of the things that makes Andor so special. I can't think of any other Star Wars properties that have underscored massive, dramatic, emotional moments with EDM club music and it go over this well. But yeah, it's pretty iconic. At number 34, we have Cinderella by Model Actress. Above all, this song is just so gripping. Its more explosive moments are very cathartic and fun and still dark, but whenever it pulls back a bit and it's just like one piece of instrumentation and his vocals, it still has you hooked. The kind of song that's impossible to look away from, I guess. It's just so consistently has you on edge. It's a really cool song. It's got a pretty similar soundscape to all the other songs on this album, but this is definitely the album's best iteration of that soundscape. It's so sharp and interesting. At number 33, we have Every Girl You've Ever Loved by Miley Cyrus and Naomi Campbell. Got another great synth beat, great vocalists, such a fun chorus. I mean, I feel like I'm running out of things to say with songs on this album, because a lot of them work for similar reasons, but this probably is the best chorus on the album. The melody is just so dynamic and gripping and grandiose and fun. I do like how by the end it kind of shifts into something more house-inspired as opposed to pop music. It's a very natural and interesting transition. And yeah, the spoken word vocals from Naomi Campbell are really corny, but in a way that very much amplifies the song instead of making you cringe. At least me, I think it's a fun, goofy inclusion. At number 32, we have I Know You Can Feel It by Nine Inch Nails. A truly masterful slow build. The beginning is so restrained and quiet, and there's not a lot going on. The vocals are very quiet too. But by the end, it's just so intense and loud and crazy, and the transition between them is completely seamless. Like, looking back, you don't even know where it becomes so intense, but like by the time you're there, it's just so cool. At number 31, we have What It Sounds Like by Huntrix, my favorite K-pop Demon Hunter song. It's not the most musically complex song from this movie. There are other songs with like more interesting melodies and compositions, but it's easily the most emotional, the most gratifying, and that's why it's my favorite. They repeat the main melody a lot, but it's a good, powerful, cathartic main melody, and the way the crowd vocals kind of start playing into it is very, very good as well. Yeah, this was a perfect way to finish off the movie. It is such an emotionally cathartic moment and beautiful song. Oh yeah, and of course the callbacks, the melodic callbacks to Golden are a very nice inclusion as well. At number 30, we have Black Knife by Toby Fox. This is probably the most dizzyingly intense thing he's ever put in one of his games. This is a fight song that underscores a battle that you are designed to lose. Like, narratively, you cannot win this battle. And this song perfectly captures, like, the intense dread of that moment. Like, in this boss battle, it killed me in, like, 2 hits. And you're supposed to die really quickly, but I died pathetically. It does so much with its only 2-minute runtime. Like, so many interesting potential leitmotifs and just fascinating synth textures. And again, it's just so rapid and unrelenting. It's so cool. But it does also have moments where it, like, restrains itself, backs away for a bit, only to come back more intense and just crazy than ever. It's like really chaotic, but beautiful chaos. Just such a cool song. At number 29, we have Unraveling by Muse. Yeah, this is their best song in a hot minute. It's probably better than anything from their last album, which makes it the best song they've made since 2018. It's doing a lot of similar things as that last album, just with much more finesse and just a much more well-balanced way. You've got the very slow, sly, synth-driven verses that are kind of pop-leaning, only for the choruses to just crash in with these awesome, really heavy metalcore guitars. And then the rest of the chorus are these just inspiringly beautiful vocals from Matthew Bellamy. This is like easily his best vocal performance since like 2015. I think his vocals haven't been as good as they once were. Like, I guess just something in his intonation as of late hasn't felt as genuine, but the powerful soulfulness of his vocals here really, really hits home. Yeah, if the rest of this album that's probably coming out this year is this good, we might actually be in for something special from Muse. Easily one of the best blends of super synthy and super heavy they've ever had. At number 28, we have Two Horses by Black Country New Road. The first half of the song is kind of slow and jazzy and just very relaxing while still like keeping you engaged. And then the second half like very suddenly like picks up the pace and builds to this like super beautiful, intense, grandiose high, and it's just so euphoric. It's not like another example of a slow build. Like, it is slow and then suddenly it picks up, but it works so well. And just beautiful vocals as well, beautiful production, beautiful performances, just everything about it is so beautiful, but also really badass. At number 27, we have Sympathy Magic by Florence and the Machine. Another example of me actually liking how the horns sound kind of synthetic. The whole song up to that point is still very beautiful and very driven, but as soon as those very glitzy horns hit, it just elevates the song so much, and I like their synthetic sound. It goes without saying that the vocals are beautiful here, but like, she really hits some amazing vocal highs on this one. It really is those trumpets that make it though. It's just such a beautiful moment. At number 6, we have Grow Wings and Fly by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Yeah, this was the closer from their last album, and it's just so euphoric. Like, as soon as the strings hit, it's just so lush and adventurous and whimsical, which aren't usually things you expect from this band, but they pull it off so well. And then once the climax hits with the really scuzzy but really optimistic guitars, the joyful vocals, the strings still going on beautifully, it's just euphoric. It's so nice. Easily one of the best closers they've ever done. At number 25, we have End of Summer by Tame Impala. I was a little middled on this song when it first came out as a single, and I'm still not really sold on those chipmunk sections, but everything else about this is just lovely. The entirely synthetic instrumentation builds in some very interesting ways. It has some very beautiful segments, and above all else, I really love Kevin's vocals here. They're just so emotionally endearing here in a way I don't usually associate with Tame Impala. There's like, even though this is like a house dance song, it's very, very emotionally tender. And yeah, even though it's not quite as like multi-layered as you normally expect from Tame Impala, it does have some really beautiful moments with those synths. This album got way too much hate. I really do think this is one of his best songs. At number 24, we have Downstairs by 21 Pilots. This one's based off a demo back from like the early 2010 days, and you can really tell, and I actually don't mean that as a bad thing. Yeah, something about it does like match the energy of their older stuff, but with the more weightier production of their modern stuff. It's just a really like gratifying full circle moment, I guess. It feels like old and new 21 Pilots just blending together in this beautiful, grandiose moment. And you know, the choruses here drop like a ton of bricks. They're just so bombastic and just throw their weight around. It's just so much fun. And some of Tyler's best vocal highs to date. He sounds really, really emotional and intense here. It is also cool seeing Tyler write a song so explicitly about his faith, whereas it's usually not as big a part of 21 Pilots. Yeah, it's just really bombastic, really beautiful, awesome song. At number 23, we have For the Cold Country by Black Country New Road. Easily this album's most structurally chaotic moment, but it works incredibly well. All the different phases work so well. Like, there are very quiet, emotionally tender parts that lean kind of medieval, then the climax, which is very, very Black Midi. Again, it is just pure, beautiful chaos. It should not work nearly as well as it does. At number 22, we have Cursive by Matt Mason and Manchester Orchestra. And yeah, in terms of emotion, this definitely leans more towards Manchester Orchestra than what I know from Matt Mason. Instrumentally, it really does just sound like something that could have been on Manchester Orchestra's last EP, Valley of Vision. I still want to give Matt Mason credit though. His vocals here are excellent, and obviously he did a lot of the writing and the instrumentation, but I love this song because of how much it feels like Manchester Orchestra. Their vocal interplay during the climax, the back and forth, is just so emotionally interesting. It all hits in such a cathartically sad way, and it's just really, really beautiful. At number 21, we have Shapeshifter by Lorde. I feel like I'm gonna start saying lots of similar things about lots of these songs, because again, this is very just emotionally beautiful song. I guess I just love how the refrain is "I'm not affected" when you can hear in the emotion of her voice she very clearly is. I love those kinds of contradictions. But yeah, it's another example of a really, really effective emotional slow build. Starts out very restrained and quiet, but by the end it's like kind of grandiose and just so intensely pretty, and the vocals, it's an incredible vocal high from her. It's just really, really beautiful. Easily one of the best songs she's ever made. At number 20, we have Bleed on Paper by Eric Church. This song is so rad. This song isn't like written about AI, but like it feels anti-AI in spirit. The whole message of it is like how the process of making art that really lasts, that's really significant, is not easy. It takes so much effort. Like essentially, if you want to make art that lasts, you gotta bleed on paper, which is just so flies in the face of what generative AI has done to art. So I really appreciate things like this that can be seen as against it, even if it's not like directly about that. But even if this was just another country song about drinking beer, the instrumental is so cool. It's got like a quiet acoustic guitar plodding along, but it's mostly driven by this very bombastic, dynamic brass sections that do so many interesting things across the song. Yeah, the strings, the brass, the choirs, it all comes together in such a flashy, grandiose package, and it's another example of country being genuinely experimental, at least within the bounds of that genre. It's so much fun. Then it also has like a really long extended intro with like a quiet saxophone solo. It's just such a fun, interesting song, really unique country. At number 19, we have Fruit Bat by Of Monsters and Men. At 8 minutes and 17 seconds, it's the longest song they've ever made by a pretty significant margin, but they pull it off incredibly well. The first 4 minutes are like a pretty normal Of Monsters and Men song. It's very tender, very pretty, very emotional, and then you kind of think it ends, but then it starts building back up again over the last 3 minutes, and it builds to this really grandiose, beautiful high. There are no more vocals after the first part of the song ends. It's just this slowly building, incredibly lush instrumental, and it's spectacular. Handily one of the best songs they've ever made, for sure. At number 18, we have Yellow by Wisp. This is a cover of Coldplay's Yellow, and I wasn't expecting to put up a cover this high, but this is something really special. For context, I've only heard one other Wisp song before, and it was like pretty good, but I am a Coldplay super fan. They are my second favorite band of all time. I adore them so completely. So I do not say it lightly when I say this blows the original completely out of the water. Yet Yellow had never been one of my favorite Coldplay singles. I've always just thought it was alright. But this song exposed a beauty. This cover exposed a beauty within it that I'd never known was there. It takes what was originally a more low-key piece of alt-rock and completely changes its sense of atmosphere into something way more nocturnal. Got very different. This vocalist is taking a very different approach, and the choruses are just stunning. It hits with these massive walls of distorted guitar that are like really heavy, but not even in like an intense way. It's just the kind of way that washes over you. You got these really heavy guitar layers, but then there's also another guitar very quietly and very echoey playing the main melody, and those two guitars in interplay is so beautiful. Yeah, it just took this song that I always thought was alright and makes it something truly awe-inspiring. Hands down one of the best cover songs I have ever heard. At number 17, we have Nettles by Ethel Cain. This was another one of her attempts at going kind of folksy and country, and it worked brilliantly. The vocals are so emotional, the instrumentation is so lush, and over an 8-minute runtime, it really never loses your attention. It's just so lovely. The way that lyric, "I've never seen brown eyes look so blue," like hits as the climax, that whole section is just so... I don't know how to describe it. It's just so utterly enchanting. Easily one of the most beautiful songs she's ever made. Probably my second favorite song from hers of all time. She should honestly do a whole album in this more country-ish, folksy style, because she does it unlike anyone else. At number 16, we have Two of Me by Sakura Fujiwara. A 7-minute jazz piece made for a piece of Star Wars anime, and it's unbelievable. I don't know if I have much to say because I'm not really good at talking about jazz. I don't listen to a lot of jazz, but just the vocals are super engaging. There are so many fascinating change-ups. Really keeps your attention across all 7 minutes. It's just so chaotic and beautiful, and there's just so much talent on display, and it fits this Star Wars anime episode perfectly. It's just as beautifully chaotic as the episode. Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe. You really just gotta hear it to believe it. Just another example of beautiful chaos. At number 15, we have One of the Greats by Florence and the Machine. The second longest song she's ever made, and easily one of her best ever. It's one of her most rock-leaning songs in a long time, which I'm a big fan of. The lyrics are very enjoyably defiant and just not putting up with anyone's bullshit, if that makes any sense. And yeah, like most of my favorite Florence songs, it just hits an incredibly grandiose, stunning high by the end, and it's just so well put together, so beautifully produced, so beautifully sung, so just awe-inspiring. At number 14, we have Deactivate by The Antlers. Like a lot of other songs on this album, the first part of it is mostly just like quiet vocals and quiet acoustic guitars, but then once it gets near the end, it introduces these twinkling little synths that are just so pretty. It's just one of the most stunningly whimsical songs of the year while still having this kind of like sadness to it. But yeah, the soundscape created by those twinkling synth arpeggios, I am just so obsessed with that world, the world of this song. It's just so beautiful and atmospheric and emotional, and again, truly is whimsical by the end. I just really love that kind of thing. It's like dying in the snow, but you're like completely at peace, if that makes any sense. Like you're just enjoying the winter atmosphere and ignoring the fact that your life is slipping away from you. At number 13, we have Surreal by Flawed Mangoes. I completely forget how I discovered this song. It is the only song I've ever heard from these guys, and it is unreal. The guitars in the choruses hit with just this oppressively discordant tone, and it's so cool. Like, so, like, distressingly dark, but still like a badass rock song at the same time. A guitar tone that feels like opening a gaping, screaming, abyssal void. The verses are good too, but they're more just like standard, low-key, atmospheric rock stuff, but just those choruses, those guitars, they're insane. The kind of thing that'll definitely be off-putting for a lot of people, but if you like dark art, you should really, really check out this song. At number 12, we have Walk of Fame by Miley Cyrus and Brittany Howard. Finally, the last song I'll be talking about from this album. This song is actually the reason I listened to this album at all, because, Brittany Howard, I really love her. She made one of my favorite albums of 2024, so I just saw her feature on this, thought I'd check it out. The song was spectacular, and then listened to the rest of the album, and it was really good too. But this is still my favorite. It's got a beat that's honestly kind of similar to Lost in Space by Foster the People from 2 years back, but it does its own thing entirely. It's got an incredible amount of swagger, both vocalists are absolutely killing it, especially Brittany at the end, and it's just such a fun piece of extravagant synth pop. I honestly wish it went on longer, because the loop it has at the end, I could listen to that for like 10 minutes. It's just so gratifying, so beautiful, but so insanely fun. At number 11, we have Anthems for a 17-Year-Old Girl by Maggie Rogers and Sylvan Esso. Yes, another cover this high. I've always enjoyed the original. I first discovered it when I happened to catch Broken Social Scene live at Calgary Stampede a few years ago, and like, yeah, it's a nice, pleasant song, but this just blows it out of the water. I mean, one, you've got the instrumentation from Sylvan Esso, who I adore, and this song is very much their classic, plucky, synthy emotionality, and it's beautiful. But then the Sylvan Esso vocals alongside Maggie Rogers, who I'm realizing I really need to check out more of, because I've only ever heard her featuring on other people's songs, but every time I do, her voice just blows me away. So the two of these two things working together to cover this song, it is so stunningly beautiful, stunningly emotional. Like on the original, I always felt like it was a little bit too repetitive, but this cover is so well executed that the repetition does not bother me at all. I just love hearing these emotional vocals and beautiful synths over and over and over again. It's incredible. Another one of the best covers I've ever heard. I really need to get into more Maggie Rogers. But finally getting into the top 10, at number 10 we have Shadow Over Me by Nine Inch Nails. Yeah, this song, it's so fucking badass. I love the robot vocals, I love Trent's main melodies, I love how just intense yet bouncy it is. All the synths sound absolutely incredible. Just the final instrumental loop which closes out the song is just jaw-dropping. The synths and the progression here have such an elasticity to them, but also such a violence to them. That final bit is just such a thrilling spectacle. It's probably the single coolest song of the year. Some of the other ones I have above it here are like cool, but also really beautiful or emotional. This isn't really beautiful or emotional. It's just pure awesomeness, as generic as that sounds. It's just unbelievably cool. I cannot get over how cool that final instrumental loop is. It's just insane. At number 9, we have Dead Stick by King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Someone said this is a sitcom intro on steroids, and they are absolutely right. Yet the whole concept with this Phantom Island album of theirs was bringing on orchestras for the first time, and this is easily the most interesting, expressive use of that on the entire album. The blasting brass sections all across this song are corny and like cheesy in the exact best kind of way. It's just so unbelievably fun. Also, probably the best vocals on any King Gizzard song. Like a lot of the recent stuff, there's like vocal interplay between several of the members, and I'm forgetting which one's name it is, but there's one section, like about 2/3 of the way through the song, where this guy is hitting some insane, soulful, joyful, incredibly fun vocal highs that I have never heard on any other King Gizzard song. Because you don't usually listen to King Gizzard for the vocals are kind of just a vehicle for the melody most of the time, but the vocals here truly, truly stand out, and I think it's the first time I've ever said that about a King Gizzard song. The vocals are incredible. An infectiously fun atmosphere, incredible brass performances, while also having King Gizzard's traditional rock stuff in the mix, incredible vocals, like I said. It is just so unbelievably fun. I know I've said that about a lot of songs here, but truly, this is so much fun. I can't not have a massive smile on my face listening to the song. I cannot move to it. It's just a blast, an absolute blast. At number 8, we have Honey Water by Japanese Breakfast. The existence of this song is so funny because the majority of the rest of this album is just like quiet kind of folksy stuff, or maybe it's like a bit more of a low-key jam with a bit more energy. And then you have this song, a towering rock epic. From the very beginning, it's so much louder and more driven than anything else on the album. and it's got really pretty vocals, but then the vocals cut out, and then these really scuzzy guitars add to the already hulking instrumentation, and it just builds and builds and builds in intensity, and it's pretty, I've said it a couple times now about other songs, but it is awe-inspiring. Just a continuously more and more thrilling display of grandeur, and yeah, easily the best song from this album. It's really funny how this song like doesn't really fit on it, but it's so much better than the rest of the album. The rest of the album was good, but it's crazy how much more this song stands out than everything else here. Yeah, it's just really cool, really beautiful, really grandiose. I really like grandiose things, if you couldn't tell. At number 7, we have Center Mass by 21 Pilots. This was probably the single most surprising song from Breach for me, because the opening it's genuinely jazz rap. This is 21 Pilots jazz rap, and it works shockingly well. The specific sway in the drum rhythms, the way the piano's complemented Tyler's fast, restrained rapping, that's the word I was looking for. He sounds very restrained on the rap sections here, and it works incredibly well. So yeah, those parts of the song are already really enchanting and really fun and really unexpected. And then the climax is one of their most hard-rocking things ever. Like, it hits with this really heavy bass, excellent scream from Tyler, but then it adds in these synth melodies that make it so emotional as well. Yeah, Tyler's vocals here sound so just grippingly grieved, while the instrumental is just going absolutely insane under him, and it's so cool. 21 Pilots have always been known for kind of genre blending, but this is easily one of their most fascinating and unique genre blends ever. Like, it goes from genuine jazz rap to just like alt-rock grandeur, and it works insanely well. At number 6, we have Amber Waves by Ethel Cain, another song that really surprised me. The album this is from, Perverts, is an incredibly dark album. Almost every song on there is designed to unnerve you or just emotionally down you in some way, which makes this shockingly tender, somewhat uplifting closer such a shock to the system. Like, there's still a sadness to it, but it's so different from the rest of the album, but it works beautifully. There's like nothing to it besides just the vocals and then these really beautifully mixed guitars. That's like all there is going on, but it is just so deeply moving. Like, it's one of those songs where the vibe is, I know I'll be alright in spite of the horrors. I think I described it in my review as like, you just got back from a hard day, you're at home, looking out at the horizon on a beautiful sunset, and it was a really hard day, you're really emotional, but just looking at the beauty of the sky, you know everything will be alright. Again, that has nothing to do with the lyrics, that's just the vibe I get, and it is such a powerful emotion. And it's such a simple song, and it's so long too. It's 11 minutes, and it's 11 minutes with like max 3 different things going on in terms of like the mix, but it is so beautiful, so moving. And again, just so shocking off such a unnerving album like Perverts. Yeah, I was listening to this one a lot whenever I was having hard days last year. It's just so unbelievably beautiful. At number 5, we have Cycles by Beach Bunny. This song kind of expresses a similar emotion to the last one, like that of persisting in spite of the horrors, but presented in a completely different way. If Amber Waves was like a somewhat more melodramatic, everything's horrible, but I must persist, I have to. This song's more like, well, gotta keep going, what else are we gonna do? It captures such a powerful sense of persistence in spite of suffering, but in a very casual way. And again, this is all about vibes, not the lyrics. Fuck the lyrics, I don't care. I get so much more from the vibes of a song than I do the words within, and this is a great example of that. It's just so comforting. The instrumentals are great, it's a very like simple, low-key rock thing with some really choice synth melodies as well, but it really just is the atmosphere of the song that enraptures me so much. Again, it's so casual, but so deeply emotionally powerful. The way the not even that sad instrumental at the end makes me cry sometimes is crazy. At number 4, we have Guardian by Toby Fox. I will never forget what it felt like hearing this song and then slowly figuring out Chapter 4's final battle. Just not really understanding how this boss battle worked at all first, and then slowly chipping away at it over the course of like 20 minutes as this song, powerfully triumphant song, looped in the background. It was just so powerful. One of the most memorable experiences I had in the entirety of 2025. It weaves together so many motifs from across the chapter brilliantly. It's just, again, so powerfully grandiose and triumphant, and it is just, it's heroism in spite of the horrors in song form. It's so, like, oppressively dark in the verses and just so, I've said the word already, but triumphant in the choruses, I guess. There aren't vocals, but it does kind of have a verse chorus structure. Easily one of the most powerful moments that Toby Fox has ever created. Again, I feel like I have more I want to say about this song, but like it really is that simple. It was an incredible moment. It weaves the chapter together brilliantly. Sounds good, obviously. Yeah, it's just so cool. So gratifying. And number 3. We have City Walls by 21 Pilots. Yes, I put 2 of these songs in the top 10. This was my album of the year for a reason. I always love me a big, bombastic, grandiose opener, and this is the best they've ever made. I mean, I probably do still like Jumpsuit more as a song, but City Walls is a better opener. The incredibly smooth rap flows in the verses, the more dramatic, powerful choruses, just the incredible production all across it. I really love how bendy those opening guitars sound, the drum rhythms are incredible as always, and the climax is absolutely insane. The callbacks to Holding On To You, the callbacks to Heavy Dirty Soul at the very, very end. It is just such a celebration of everything that 21 Pilots has been. It's just so rad, and so emotionally satisfying, and so well produced and well performed. It's easily one of the best songs they have ever created, and yeah, probably their best opener. Oh, also those synth melodies, which are apparently distorted saxophones in the choruses, it's very Glass Animals. I wasn't expecting their big lore climax to kind of sound like Glass Animals at points, but it does, and I have no problem with that. It's a very cool sound for them. I really love those little synth melodies. In second place, we have Second Sleep by Magdalena Bay. I just realized now that works well. Yeah, this song is like nothing new for them. You could have put it straight on Imaginal Disc and it would have been perfectly in place. It's not like an evolution for them, but oh my word. It's just so stunningly well executed. I just could not believe my ears the first time I heard it. It's not even like the best Magdalena Bay song. I was just shocked that they continue to impress me this much. Do just go this hard. Go this hard like only 1 year after their last album. They could have just taken a break and I'd be fine, but they came back not even a year later with this insane masterpiece. Deeply lush production, incredible vocal melodies, some of her best vocal highs to date. The strings are what really make this song. They're so sweeping. I guess that is the one part that feels kind of new about it. There were strings on Imaginal Disc, but they are really on full display here, and they sound incredible. They give the song such a decadence to it that it feels just so far beyond what you expect from pop music. I don't even know if you can call this pop music. I feel like I'm rambling with this song in particular. Oh yeah, the best part is the heavy guitars at the end. Like, most of the song is just really sweeping and beautiful, and the chorus is hit so hard, but then these really gritty, scuzzy guitars come in at the end, and they somehow match perfectly with the incredibly lush and ethereal instrumentation that we've had up to that point. The climax here is just insane. They're going so unbelievably hard. Like, you didn't have to do this. You could have taken a break, but you did this anyway. And I'm so thankful, Mika. Just, yeah. There's a reason I've been so obsessed with these guys over the last few years. They continue to just be the most exciting thing happening in music nowadays. It's an amazing song. And then, with a very opposite emotional palette, at number 1, we have Nancy Tries to Take the Night by Black Country New Road. This song is really hard to describe. It's just easily the most emotionally arrested I was by anything this year. The opening 2 minutes are just entirely acoustic guitars. There was nothing going on except just some layers of acoustic guitars, and even then, it is so beyond gripping. And then the very emotionally tender and withdrawn vocals kick in, and then the drums kick in, and then the saxophone arpeggios kick in, and it just keeps building and building and building. And then you hit a climax that doesn't feel like an explosion, it just feels like it slowly builds, and then it keeps you at that tension there for a while, and that's the climax, and it's just so unbelievably emotionally gripping. It tells a very emotionally sad and brutal story about an unplanned pregnancy and about like what's she even gonna do, she doesn't know. But like, even if the lyrics hadn't interested me that much, it's just so... I'm really having a hard time describing this one, you guys. Just the way everything comes together is so dizzyingly emotional and incredibly well performed, both vocally and instrumentally. Just the vocal highs she hits are... it's just crazy. Sorry, I'm really having a hard time describing this one, but like, I guess it's part of why it's my favorite. I can barely put into words just how interesting it is, how emotional it is, how cool it is, how sad, but like, awe-inspiring it is, you really, really have to hear it for yourself. It is something truly, truly special. Probably the second best song they've ever made. I mean, I don't think anything's ever going to beat Basketball Shoes, because that's like a top 20 favorite song of all time for me. But this is still an incredible, incredible achievement of a song. Go listen to it for yourself, please. Yeah, that's the video. Don't really have much of an intro. Fuck Ice.